in this lesson, we're going to take the idea of rays and take it one step farther. So again, we talked about rays, kind of like the sun in the sky, where the light begins at the sun and moves away from the sun towards the earth. So technically, it's a line that has one end cut off. The idea of opposite rays are created when two rays share an endpoint and go in opposite directions. Now we all know what the word opposite means. Okay? Up, down, left, right. It goes 180 degrees the other direction. Okay? So it's not at an angle, it is completely the other direction, is opposite. So let's get our highlighters and note-taking items ready to go here. Okay? So again, opposite rays are when two rays share an endpoint and they go in opposite directions. Let me scroll down so we can take some notes. So opposite rays have a shared endpoint, which means they both start at the same letter. So we talked about how only one point can occupy a space. So they will both come from the same point, but move in opposite directions. For example, if I have ray x, y, notice how this one starts at x and this one starts at x. They share point x. That is the common endpoint. They move in opposite directions. One goes through point y and one goes through point z. They form a straight line because if they're going in opposite directions, they're going to move away from each other. So I'm going to draw a picture of the x, y, x, z example. Okay? So if I have, let me do my little endpoint thing here. Oops, I'm going to start and then go here. Okay, so I'm going to draw it down here at the bottom where it starts and moves in one direction. So this might be considered ray x, y. Okay, so it starts at x and moves toward y. Okay, so I'm going to just highlight, because I like colors. When we get back in the classroom, you're going to see I'm a color coding crazy person. So I start at x and I move towards y. Well, if I'm going to make an opposite ray, the important part here is that it still starts at x, but it moves in the complete opposite direction. And the letters the problem gave us said that this one right here is going to be called xz. So I'm going to say it went from x toward z. So you notice how the green ray moves to the left from x to y, and the purple one goes from x to z, moving to the right. They're going in opposite directions, but they share a middle point. And if you step away from the screen, it's going to look like a straight line with three collinear points. And in reality, it's two rays parked right end to end with each other. Okay? So that's kind of the example of opposite rays. I like to think of it as like if you're looking at the clock and it's 6 o'clock, the hour hand and the minute hand are two separate hands, but they share the center of the clock, and one is pointing up towards 12 and one is pointing down towards the 6. Those would be an example of opposite rays. So let's do some practice problems. Here it says, draw opposite ray to the ray that has already been shown. So they give you one to start with, and you have to draw and create your own opposite ray. Okay, so I'm going to grab a pen, and I'm going to start where this one starts. So this one started at C, so I'm also going to start at C and move in the opposite direction and put an arrow on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and give it a letter down here because I kind of need to know where this one goes. So I'm going to put like a B. What is the name of the ray you drew? Well, I drew a ray that started at C and moved toward B. So I drew ray C, D. So here's a challenge question. Are these considered opposite rays? The answer would be no. These are not opposite rays. Why are they not opposite rays? Well, I have two rays. I clearly have two separate rays. I have this one right here, and I have this one right here. So I have two rays, and they share an endpoint. But what this picture is missing is the fact that they do not go in opposite directions. If these were opposite rays, it would start and go in the exact opposite direction. One might be going up, one would be going down. Okay? It doesn't really matter which way they're going as long as they're going in different directions and then they share the endpoint. Okay? So the picture they gave us, the green and the blue, they're not going in opposite directions. Yes, they're going different directions, but the key word is opposite. Two rays, opposite directions. Okay, so that wraps it up for opposite rays. And so make sure you look at this. This is always a really kind of a stumbling block for a lot of students. So we will see these many times throughout the year. So make sure you're comfortable with opposite rays.